Good evening. Suresh, first of all, thank you. Big hand to Suresh again, I think. Thank you so much for asking me to be here today. Thank you to the club, and thank you all of you for taking time out on a Sunday evening. I know it's not easy with the traffic outside, but I'm truly overwhelmed with the kind of response I saw on the group. Let me start by saying, public speaking can be very intimidating, very daunting. And, I took speech therapy for many years because I had a big problem with stammering. I still stammer sometimes, but I did that. And when Suresh reached out to me and I said, of course, I'm very happy to come and speak. I landed this afternoon from Jodhpur, but I wanted to be here today, to share. And the idea is to share my mistakes, share, things that have worked for me, things that have not worked for me. And I think the best way is that if people can learn from somebody else's experience, they don't have to make the same mistakes in this way. And that's the journey that I'm going to try and cover. I had budgeted for a slightly longer time, but, I'll try and wrap it up as quickly as possible. But if I'm overshooting, please, please do stop me. So this, I have some dear friends who have been with me for many years. And, when I started my career as a pathologist, it was not my first choice. Let me put it that way. I wanted to be a surgeon. And I was very good at surgery. I was, I used to assist in my second year of medical college, and during internship, I was managing the OPD independently. I was, doing all crazy kind of stuff. But I didn't get, as we would call it, the unit of your choice. I didn't get the right teacher. So they said, don't take surgery, you should take something else. And I ended up doing pathology. Surgery was also, has a lot more prestige associated with it, unlike, pathology in that sense. So the moral of this slide, and I'll tell you, I'll talk about it, is that it does not matter where you start. All matters is where you end and what you do with that journey. So when we started pathology, many friends used to come up and call me stools. And stools is basically, what is a pathologist? Pathologist is somebody who sits on a stool and examines sample of a stool under a microscope. That's what pathology is. So I said, okay, cut to 30 years now, and many of those friends still affectionately call me stools, but I'm thinking with a lot more endearment now, So, and this is the journey of when I started off 30 years ago, when being called stools, to what I've done over the last 30 years. So when I, finished my pathology at JJ Hospital, I always wanted to study. I still want to study, and I think that's something which I would like all of you to, because we are students for life. We have people like Mr. Satish, Khanna, and we can learn so much from people like him. So I think life is just a continuous opportunity to learn. So after I finished my residency, I went to the US, and I trained under the world-famous pathologist in Henry Ford Hospital, and she said, Sanjay, you come, don't worry about it, and I will not charge you anything. My only request is that you buy the microscope of my choice, because only then will you be able to practice the skills that you have learned with me. So I came back, and I found out the best microscope that I could think of. And I remember the microscope this one which is shown in the image, was not available in Mumbai at that time. I'm talking about 1993, 94. So I took a Asiad bus. Some of you may remember, between Mumbai and Pune, and that's all I could afford. So I took that Asiad bus, went to Pune, saw the microscope, came back, and I told my family, it costs 1.75 lakhs. The biggest investment I made when I started Suburban Diagnostics was this microscope. But as everybody knows, it's actually, like as people call it, my mashuka, my girlfriend, whatever, that I take 15 minutes to clean the microscope, make sure it's well maintained. and it's still with me. So the only things that have not changed in the last 30 years is me and the microscope. Rest everything else has changed. So I think if you truly are attached to something, maintenance does pay. But the story doesn't end out here. So about 5 years ago, my younger daughter decided to follow in my footsteps, and she wanted to become a pathologist. She's now finishing a residency at Tata Hospital. She's there at the corner at the back. So the day she got selected into MD pathology at Tata Hospital, I picked up this microscope, which is the love of my life, literally, and I came and I said, "This is yours." So it's like an heirloom, which is passed on to the next generation, and which I'm sure will be put to much better use because she's way smarter than I ever was. So when I started Suburban Diagnostics at that time, and I want to say that, the lesson here is dynamics of customer behavior, how they change. What it was 30 years ago and what it is today is extremely different. At that point of time, the market was extremely fragmented, and diagnostic services were largely within hospitals. This whole concept of standardization, quality was just not there at that time, and there was really no customer-centric focus. Everything was patient and doctor, but yet there was change all around us. Everything else was changing: banking, entertainment, retail. So I said, why not make that change in pathology? So I said, two things that I can do. One is, how do you democratize making a choice? So, and just think about this, you don't have to answer this. How do you choose healthcare today? How do you choose which doctor to go to? How do you choose which lab to go to? How do you choose which hospital to go to? How do you choose which specialist to go to? Is there a easy way for you to find out, how to compare? So today you have NABL accreditation, NABH accreditation. The idea was that if you try and create a process, create systems where people can actually make a choice, you can choose how to buy the best car because you know everything about the car. But how do you demystify healthcare? How do you actually, make healthcare come out of the black box and actually make it, how do you democratize that? And I think that was the opportunity. And the other opportunity was, how do you truly look at patient and change that to customer? Because if you look at it today, 90% of population is not consuming healthcare. And yet we call everybody as a patient. So how do you look at the whole illness part, which is patient, and how do you look at the wellness part, which is a much, much bigger area? So you look at patients and look at customer. And that's what we did 30 years ago. And this perhaps for me is, my most, one of my most sort of evolved slides, that any journey starts with an inspiration. And you have to have something that makes you want to get out of bed. Mr. Kaul here is an inspiration for everybody in this club because he is at the gym no matter what, 365 days, and he's an inspiration. So we find that inspiration around us everywhere. Clearly, right? He's a big inspiration. So what is it that makes you want to get out of bed every day? Find that out. And then you follow that up with what I call as hard work. You can't just say, okay, I'm inspired, but you don't. If you have to go to the gym, you have to actually work out. So you have to perspire. So inspiration followed by perspiration. But many people say, okay, fine, I've worked hard, but they don't stick to it. Sometimes they just give up in the middle. So you have to remain perseverant. That dedication is important. And, maybe for the younger generation today, I guess, because we were used to working hard. We didn't have a choice. But today everything is available. It's world of instant gratification. How do you overcome, that whole... There'll be some hurdles in life, always. But how do you overcome those and remain perseverant? But if you just continue in that journey, there has to be some change. So you have to keep innovating. So there is inspiration, there is perspiration, hard work, there is dedication, but there also has to be some innovation. You have to keep evolving yourself. You can't just say, okay, I'll stick to that same, philosophy, one size fits all. No, it's not going to. So you have to keep innovating yourself, rediscovering yourself. And today we all realize the world of collaboration. It's better to work together than to compete sometimes. So how do you create this opportunity of inclusivity, of collaboration, of bringing people together? When you do all this, you will definitely get an opportunity of celebration. So don't forget that. I think it's very important that you bring this element of celebration in your life in every small way. I think I learned that very late. I think my kids have seen me, for they're 28 and 26. They have seen me through the entire life, very little celebration. And that's a mistake that I made. That I didn't celebrate as much as I should have. So again, I'm telling you that find ways, because every time you celebrate, you will start the cycle of inspiration again. So this cycle is an ongoing process. So start with inspiration, end with inspiration. So this is how we started. And that's not a photoshopped image. It's actually hair, real hair. No gimmickry here. So Anju, my wife, and I, started this lab in a small place of about 800 square feet. And, I'm so proud with this refurbished equipment that I got from Germany. And it was in such bad condition that I had to actually learn how to repair the machine. And that gave me the opportunity of actually getting my hands dirty. And I'll talk about that. And between Anju and me, we managed the entire organization. We had no prior experience of running an enterprise. And, the first 10 years was actually a great learning opportunity for us. But this is what happened, over the last 28 years. So, what was a small 400 square feet lab, today we have a 13,000 square foot lab. We occupied about 800 square feet. We occupy over 100,000 square feet today, and, so on and so forth. So, but the moral of the story here is, as the equipment becomes bigger, you lose hair, I guess, so. So, although my son-in-law Bhavin is here, and he says, Dad, you look younger today than you did earlier. So I think, maybe less hair also helps sometimes. So, but that's what it is, that you start, it's not from where you start, it's where you end again. The first day when we started Suburban Diagnostics, I remember it was a Sunday. And the night before, we had put signboards, because we didn't get prime location. So we were inside, if you know Sundarvan complex, where, you have Link Road on one side and the Lokhandwala Road on the other side. So we were right in the middle of that. So we put signages. And next day morning, when we come on the day of the launch, the signboards have been stolen. Overnight. So that is how we started. But, I think there's no better way to learn from adversity, I guess, And nobody came because they were happy that we started a lab. So remember one thing. There'll be very few people who are genuinely happy for your success. Find those people, because if people talk about your success in front of you, I think it's more a facade. So find those true, genuine people who genuinely, are happy for your success. Because I could make out at that time, people came not because they were, happy that I started a lab, but, oh, what equipment has he put? What is he doing? It's more to check out the competition. Most of the equipment that I purchased in the first year just broke down. So I think it's so important that you, like I said, maintenance. So the only thing that remained was the microscope. Had I paid that much attention on the other equipment, perhaps it would not have, broken down. And that equipment breakdown led to my own health breakdown. So second year of starting Suburban, I had fever for 5 months. And Anju and I could not figure out. Anju was pregnant with our second child. She had to manage the lab. She had to manage me. She had to manage, so many things. And I remember in October of 1995, 4.5 months of undiagnosed fever, I went to my teacher, Dr. Tempton Udwadia, recently passed away. And Anju and I went to him and said that, this is what my situation is. He's saying, I'm going to give you 2 more weeks of treatment, and if your fever does not come down, I'll cut you open. So Anju said, sir, but I'm delivering in 3 weeks' time. And I still remember this line, child, but he is my patient, you are not. But I think his magical hands, and I'm here. So I think it's very, very important that to look after anything else, look after yourself first. There's a friend, Neeraj and I know very well, Ashish Jain. He's a orthopedic surgeon at Hinduja Hospital, and he came up with this brilliant line. To be selfless, you have to first be a little selfish. So you be selfish to yourself. If you can look after yourself, you can look after anything else in life. But if you can't look after yourself and you are not able to do it, what will you look after anything else? So to take care of your family, your friends, your business, first invest in yourself. So very, very important. This is perhaps, my biggest learning that I've had over the last 30 years. And when I give a talk, almost always, people ask me to speak about it again. So indulge me in this. How many of you have ever opened a shutter in your life? How many of you don't know what a shutter is? Because there will be some people who don't know what a shutter is also. So I would reach my lab every day at 6:45 in the morning and, open the shutter, lift it up, and at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, pull that shutter down. That was my routine for many years. And I realized that, by going and opening the shutter every day, pulling it down, what am I learning? So the first lesson that I learned by opening a shutter is punctuality. That I have to reach on time no matter what. That if I don't reach at 6:45, nothing will happen. My daughters will argue that I'm still not as punctual as I need to be, but I'm getting there. Second was that sense of ownership and pride. I had the keys of that in my hand, and I need to keep that as secure as possible. So that sense of ownership and pride. Third is a sense of humility. That every day when you have to open a shutter, you have to first bend down to open the keys and then you lift the shutter up. So no matter what you did the previous day, you have to start your day by bending down. So it's teaching you that no matter where you are, remain humble, remain grounded. When you bend down, you have to make sure that you have a strong back, a strong shoulder. So again, look after yourself to lift that shutter up, otherwise you're not going to be able to do it. And if you have a well-lubricated shutter, much easier to open than a shutter that is not well maintained. Again, the whole concept of maintenance. Very important that you learn to work as a team, because I can't do everything myself. So if I come at 6:45, Dashrath, who's going to be the housekeeping, has to come at 7, then the first technician will come at 7:15, and then you continue to work as a team. Very important that it taught me how to have a backup plan. No matter what, work cannot stop. For some reason, if I'm not able to reach on time, I can't say that I'm not well or I'm traveling or whatever. So who else can I entrust those keys with so that they can also come and open the shutter? So make sure you have a backup plan. And I'm talking about 30 years ago when we pulled the shutter down, no internet, no mobile phone. So so the whole sense of communication, learning from people like you that paint the color of the shutter really nice and attractive so that people came at 9 o'clock. Instead of just keeping it blank, I painted my residence number on the shutter so that people can still reach me if they needed to. So, and the last but not the least, I was telling Bhavin the other day that every day when you pull the shutter down, that part of your day ends. Don't carry it when you go back home. And when you come back again, start afresh by opening the shutter again. So I think it's very important that you tell yourself, when I'm pulling the shutter down, I'm ending that part of my day. When you go home and you take off your shoes from tomorrow, do this deliberately. After work, when you go home, it's a great culture in India to take off our shoes before we reach home. When you're taking off your shoes, that part of your day has ended. My day of wearing work shoes has ended. My day of walking bare feet in the house has started. So don't let that overlap. And similarly, when you move from your house to your work, again, that change. And I think the pandemic, we all felt that was great, because we don't have to travel to work anymore. But trust me, that travel is the only time we had for ourselves. It's that transition between work to home and home to work, which was just completely lost because you were all at home all the time. And there was no transition between work and home. So while we said that, we hate travel, but that travel actually is your only time for yourself. Listen to music, sleep, talk to friends, whatever. That was lost. So I think sometimes it's very important, find time for yourself. Like I said, get your hands dirty. There's no better way to learn by doing things yourself. That first equipment that I got broke down incessantly. I went, imported parts from the US, sat every Saturday night till Sunday night repairing that machine. I'm a medical professional, and medical professionals here will endorse what I'm saying. We are not taught how to run a business. We don't know what is HR. We don't know what is finance. We don't know what is mass media and communication, marketing, sales. But when you start doing things yourself, I think today also when we have a large team of professionals all managing these, I think those initial 10 years that Anju and I did things by ourselves continue to hold us in good stead. Today I can still, have a decent conversation with a finance professional, maybe talk to an HR person and give my own perspective on HR. I think doing things yourself, there is no shortcut by doing it yourself. So get your hands dirty. This is what I learned from my father. I had invited him today, but he said, I'm going with my friends to, so it's okay, theek hai. Young people. Yeah. So I said, dream big to make it big. You have to have that dream which is bigger than life. One simple learning that I had is, we are always very shy sometimes, that, should I go and ask? Should I not ask? We were very hesitant and we always tell, it's okay, let it be. My learning is, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. If you ask, there's a 50% chance it could be yes. So ask. There's no harm in asking. Worst what it'll say, still say no only, right? Whatever it is, don't hold back. Ask. Let your dreams be known to people. This is perhaps one of my most important things, and I start by acknowledging Dr. Vijay Lulla here. Dr. Vijay Lulla, unbelievable human being, great physician, just the most warm-hearted person. I am where I am today, and a large part of it goes to Dr. Lulla. He may not believe it or not, but when I finished my class 12, and I went to him, and we know him for more than 40 years. Our family goes back, the relationship with him for over, when I was maybe 15. So he said, if you want to do medicine, you will only do Grand Medical College. Although I had an opportunity to go to some other place, he said, no, you will only go to Grand Medical College. And he continued to guide me, motivate me, continues to do that even today. So when we talk about relationships, it's not something which is very frivolous. It is very important that if you want relationship to truly matter, you have to invest in those relationships and invest in those relationships without any expectations. I think what we do is we always put some caveat to it. I did so much for her, but she didn't do anything for me. Or I, spent so much time with him, but he didn't give me that. Don't do that. Please have no expectations. When you start having expectations in relationships, it just doesn't work. Again, my dear friend here, Dr. Neeraj Vora, orthopedic surgeon, par excellence, a 2 a.m. friend for sure. Big hand to Neeraj. First day of medical college, went to Andheri station, sat in the 4 limited bus. So everything will be a story, guys, so please indulge me. Sat in the 4 limited bus. I didn't know how to go to JJ Hospital, where it was. He told me go to JJ Hospital, but he didn't send me his Merc at that time. He just said, go to JJ Hospital and get admitted there. So I take 4 limited bus, reached 1 hour, 20 minutes later outside JJ Hospital, walk into the campus, completely lost. There Neeraj is. Tu fresher hai na? I said, हाँ. लगता है देखो कुछ नहीं पता किधर करने का कुछ भी. I said, नहीं पता. चल. He took me where to get admissions done. After that, देखो anatomy hall पता किधर है, physiology hall पता किधर है. Nothing. Gave me a full campus tour. Always drives a black car. I don't know if he still drives a black car. He had a black Fiat at that time. I didn't know Harbour Line existed at that time. I only knew Western Line, So I would take a bus 251 from my house to Andheri station and take a train to Grant Road station. Time it, because Neeraj lived in Malabar Hill at that time. And I would stop at the 135 bus stop, I still remember, on the flyover at Grant Road station. Timing it, waiting at the bus stop so that Neeraj would pick me up. And this is my routine for so many months. And this fellow, not once did he back out. Not once. Sorry? No, we were in the same batch. He comes from a very illustrious medical family. Dr. Ellen Vora, his father, so he always knew that he's going to be an orthopedic surgeon, I think even before he knew anything else in life. So, for him, getting into medical college was just routine. I have to get there. But for me, I was completely a fish out of water. But, he's been there with me for almost 40 years and counting. Few years ago, he insisted and we went to Rishikesh for bungee jumping and stuff like that. And he is truly a 2 a.m. friend. So that's the relationships I'm talking about. Dr. Lulla, Neeraj, so many people here, building a new relationship with so many new people. I think I got to know Mr. Satish Khanna little late in life, but I'm going to catch up on that lost time with him because he's just this encyclopedia of knowledge, So many of you here. So I think very important, hang on to relationships, nurture them. In 2012, and Suresh told me to talk about these things, so I'm just bringing that in. We decided to look at growth. Between 10 and 12. So we decided that we'll find an investment banker. Now, how do you find a good investment banker? I don't know if is there something like that, good investment banker or not, I'm not sure. So we interviewed many people, my father and I, and then we met this small Parsi gentleman, Navroz. We just instantly fell in love with him. And Navroz came on board. He had never done a deal in healthcare, but he said, I'll work with you for the first 1 year. I'll understand healthcare, you understand me. We'll create a business plan and then we will see what to do. My first investment happened through Navroz. It's 2023. The Navroz has been part of our family for 11 years. The exit transaction, though headed by a large investment bank, was still managed internally by Navroz. Navroz is now an advisor to a family office. Navroz is my go-to person. So again, it's the importance of these relationships that are important, so important. 2 words that I don't like, employee, I hate that word. Teammate, colleague, whatever else. I don't like the word employee, and I don't like the term vendor. So people who work with you, channel partners, business partners, whatever, a lot of that, so many business partners have given me what I am today. So much of information about competition. You're having a shortage of staff, you tell one of your channel partners, they'll find somebody for you. It's a small thing. They come in. So there was this one channel partner called Jignesh, and he was working with Roche Diagnostics. Left Roche Diagnostics and joined another company. And suddenly I just didn't meet Jignesh for many months. One day Jignesh calls me and says, Dr. Arora, can I come and meet you? I said, क्या हो गया Jignesh? He said, sir, बस मेरे को आपके साथ coffee पीनी है. I said, come Jignesh. And he was, very, very upset. I said, क्या हो गया Jignesh? He said, for the last 6 months, मैंने आपसे पूछा नहीं, but I left Roche and I joined this other company. But I have not learned anything in life. So today I have come, so I'm a very hard taskmaster. I would always make Jignesh sweat when he came to my room. And he said, sir, for the last 6 months, nobody has jhapoed me. Nobody has taken my case. And I haven't learned anything. I have come today for you to just fire me. I said, this is the end of relationships where somebody comes to be jabbed by you. So that's how, if you just invest and nurture those relationships selflessly, it comes back to you. Doing things yourself and getting things done, big difference. We all feel, I am good at it, I'll do it myself, but that will limit your success. Your success happens when you learn to get things done from people. I think that's the art of it. So always make sure that you find people who are better than you. I feel insecure. If I find somebody who's better than me, my importance will go down. Absolutely not. The only way for you to grow is if you have people who push you up. And the only way if you will be pushed up is you invest in people who are better than you. So whatever it is, your finance person should be better than you, your HR person should be better than you, your technical person. So today, I was the only pathologist for the first 12, 13 years. Today, in Suburban, we have over 50 pathologists. At Dr. Lal, we have about 300 pathologists. So a group of 400 pathologists today. Dr. Lal and I are still there. And our importance has not gone down at all. But we've got people who are far better than us in certain areas of pathology. But when collectively, They still need our expertise. So don't be afraid of, take time, but find people and build people who are better than you. You know, when you start an organization and you're very small, every input that you get is within your head. So all these departments that I spoke about, there are no layers, right? Because you are everything. So you're just saying customer calls, one department to the other is different functions in your head. But as the organization grows and you build layers, sometimes you get lost in this whole concept of Chinese whispers. So you get a call from a customer, not your function, and you pass it on to somebody whose function it is. That person passes on to somebody in his team, goes further. And you think that your job is done, that you passed on that information to the right department. No. What starts with you, ends with you. So even if somebody calls me today and says that I need an appointment with Dr. Neeraj Vora, for example, I will call Neeraj. I'll say, kaisa hai? Kaam bol. But I'll make sure that Neeraj will give me a feedback at the end of the day. The patient came, what happened, what did not happen. So what starts with you, ends with you. No matter how big your organization is, try and get this closing the loop feedback, that no matter what function you are in, make sure that if something came to you, it has to end back at you. We all make mistakes. No one is perfect. But what we tend to do is we hide those mistakes. And my objective today is to actually share my mistakes. The more mistakes you share, just imagine, we are 100 people in this room. 100 people can learn and don't make the same mistakes that I did. And that's the idea, is that the more mistakes you share, the better it gets for everybody. So I remember the first pediatric patient who came was a failed blood collection by me. I did not know how to do it. But then I worked at it. We got lucky. We got a technician who used to work in a pediatric hospital who taught us the whole process. I'm not afraid that I said I didn't learn. I could not do pediatric collection myself. But that taught me how to become better. One of the mistakes that we do is, when you're very happy or very angry, don't take decisions at that time. Even when you're very happy, don't take a decision. So extremes of emotions, first time to, and you sort of drop your guard. In healthcare, and Dr. Deepak will agree with me, healthcare is like a constant boxing match, right? One hand to attack, one hand to defend. We have Vindu here who will probably agree with that. The moment you drop your guard, you get hit. So, extremes of emotion tend to make you drop your guard. So if you want to stay alert, make sure you find ways to keep your guard up. And we've discussed about building a team. So don't be over-dependent on people. Keep upgrading your skills. And as a leader, remember, everyone looks at you. So if you want to come on time, if you want people to come on time, you have to come on time yourself. If you want people to dress in a particular way, you have to dress in a particular way. So whatever you want people to do, do it yourself, because everybody is looking at you. You are setting the example. And those are the lessons in leadership that I learned. Appreciate people generously, something which I just did not do. I was always finding mistakes. Yes, everybody will make mistakes. But I'm sure there are enough good things that are happening around us. So my dad's elder brother, whenever I talk to him, he's 93. He'll tell me, Sanjay, kuch achhi khabar suna. That's all he would say. So we have this now in Suburban, aaj ki achhi khabar. We start every day with something good. So find ways to start your day with a positive way. Appreciate people genuinely. So important to find ways to appreciate. Now, please tell me if I'm
just about worried about Dr. Namjoshi's next appointment he has.
Okay.
He has said he has an engagement elsewhere.
Okay. 2 minutes, 1 minute?
Yeah, maybe you take time.
Okay. Never give feedback which is tough on a Friday night. No, you're laughing. Trust me, you don't know what happens to that person and his family or her family if you're giving feedback that, I don't want you to work with me, or you did this or you did that. You don't know what goes through that person. Give feedback on a Monday, because then at least you have the full week to deal with that person. So important that appreciate publicly, admonish privately. Never give negative feedback in front of somebody else. It is so humiliating for that person. So, small things in life. Exceed the brief is the value that we follow as suburban. That the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little bit extra. So what is it that you can do in your life that is a little bit extra? And that's what I call exceed the brief. So for example, the wall. What's the brief of a wall? It's made out of brick, made out of cement. It's meant to, give a boundary to this room. It's meant to support the ceiling. It's meant to create a barrier between this room and the other room. But see how the wall has exceeded its brief by wallpaper, by paint, by this, nice cladding. So the wall can exceed its brief. What can we do? Remember this, difference between ordinary and extraordinary in anything you do in life is just that little bit extra. We learned this whole concept of innovation or backward integration. We built a paramedical skilling college, which is called Scope. My older daughter is running that now. She and my father run what we call as Skilling College of Paramedical Education. For every doctor, you need 9 paramedical staff. Right, Dr. Deepak? Dr. Lula? 9 paramedical staff. So that's the opportunity we seek today. So how do you create backward integration? That as we were growing suburban, we needed a skilled pool of resources, that is human resource. So we built our own skilling college so that we had a plug and play model. And today, Scope is able to provide this to all faculties of healthcare. Since we are talking about healthcare, nobody wants to choose healthcare, right? Nobody wants healthcare. Nobody says on a Monday morning that, instead of going, I'd rather go to a, hospital than to go to a mall. I'd rather, not watch a movie, but I'll go and do a health checkup. Nobody does that. So I think it's very important as healthcare professionals, we realize that nobody comes to us because they want to come to us. Everybody comes to us because they have to come to us. Just that mere acknowledgement that I know why you are here is enough to make 50% of the anxiety go away from patients. I know why you're here. And the objective is, how do you convert that have to a want to? It's only by the way in which you, indulge and interact with people. Last few slides. Like I said, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you need to give something to people, you need to first fill your life. You need to fill your cup. So make sure your life is filled as its great all-round talent. So find a hobby, whether it's sports, it's music, it's reading, it's traveling, cooking. I do a lot of these things. This is all, so I cook breakfast every Sunday. I go cycling. I'm a aspiring DJ, a photographer. Fill your life. So important that, fill your own life so that then you can share it with people. And this is one of my opportunities of, the role in society of giving back. Find ways to give back to society, because we all live such a blessed, cherished life. Find any way to give back to society. If you don't evolve, you will dissolve. So this is the way suburban diagnostics evolved from when we did not have the liberty of a graphic designer, so to say. This black and white logo was designed by Anju and me. And as suburban diagnostics evolved, so did our logo. And today, today it's the opportunity where, we are working with Dr. Lal Path Labs. Large canvas across the country. The idea is to, how do you make a difference to health outcomes in this country? While we have business indices, every hospital will have, growth numbers, EBITDA, PAT, this cost, that cost. But what healthcare has unique is health indices. Can we look back and say, I made a difference to maternal mortality. I made a difference to infant mortality. I made a difference to antibiotic resistance. Besides looking at your financial indices, I think the unique opportunity of healthcare is, what can we do to make a difference to health indices? And that's the opportunity that I have today. And I'll end by saying that my journey is to truly unburden your health or unburden healthcare. There is a huge gap between demand and supply in our country. What can we do together to unburden this gap, to bridge this gap between demand and supply, so that we all, impact people's lives in a better way, and we, truly make a difference to people's outcomes. Thank you so much. Wow.